Hello, everyone, and welcome to my Ascension Messages. My name is Bobbie, and I will be your guide for today. Today, I'm going to discuss some topics about 3D to 5D and our expansion of our consciousness and see what channelings come through as well. So I'm outside at the moment. It's very early in the morning, 7 a.m. I'm outside because I don't want to disturb people that are asleep in the house. This is my girlfriend's place, Julie's place, and it's been my first live since I've come back from New York, which is an absolutely incredible paradigm shifting journey, honestly, for myself and for so many others. And so I've got some videos coming up about that and the presentations that I made, and especially the one that was at Ground Zero in the heart of New York. And that was literally those meetups where the reason why I even came to New York, I was meant to be there for that time and hold a specific energy or frequency, and it was amazing. Hey, Anne was there. Um, Thank you for showing up, being in my chat bar. Yay! You can't see me. Ooh, that's interesting. I can see me. Sky, can you see me? Because I might have to say, okay, other people can. Sky can see me. Anne can't see me. I don't know why that is, Anne. Really interesting. Gail can see me. Okay, well, we will keep on going then. Sorry, Anne, about that. I do want to discuss this 3D to 5D subject because I've seen it scroll on my Facebook quite often where people have this great big write-up about we're leaving the 3D and we're moving into the 5D, and that is absolutely wrong. So I really had to come up and speak about this. So if we go back to the original moment when humanity had the fall, it was a fall of our right hemisphere, our feminine hemisphere, where the navigation of ourselves through feeling, a feeling base, was completely severed in the end. I mean, it was a ongoing process. It took a while, but in the end, it was severed to the point, well, not completely. Actually, that's probably wrong to say that, but completely severed to the point where we didn't take our feelings into account. Because we've always got that. Those feelings are still there, but they were ignored. And with that, telepathy fell, everything fell. Our connection to our outside world from our inner world fell. And so all we did was focus on our outside reality. And I want to bring up that in this 3D world, we have 2D, right? So 2D would be like a flat piece of paper where you can write stuff on. That's a 2D kind of a scenario. There's no height to it. That still exists in the 3D world, but the 3D world will be expanding into the 5D world. So we are not leaving the 3D world. We are expanding it into the 5D world. And the 5D is to do with our feelings, which is connection to an energy-based alignment to our outside world. So then we start to see our outside reality as energy as well. And when we start to see things as energy and that it's part of our own consciousness that is reflected outwards, we can change things from our inner world out. So there's a whole other scope that's coming into play here because we start to realize it's not just that somebody outside of us can control us anymore, it's us needing to control ourselves. And it makes such a huge difference in this ongoing saga of story writing for our purpose to be able to create something brand new, but also to realize the understanding of how the physical world works as well, interacting with our energy base, because we've just gone through a huge journey of learning all about the physical world. So this is more of a collaboration, a coming together of oneself, and we return home because we're returning back to how we feel, and we make our decisions based on feelings. Instead of, in the past, as you know, our decisions were based on what somebody else told us, and then even if we didn't feel good in the decision, we still did it. We still took that job, we still went to school, we still had that partner that didn't feel good, and we stayed in those marriages, we stayed in that job, because even though it didn't feel good to us, because we weren't acknowledging our feelings. So when we acknowledge our feelings, we start to open up or crack this whole new paradigm of recognizing that things are a reflection of how we feel about ourselves, and then it is seen as the energy alignment outside of ourselves too. So we start to understand that the trees have their own personality, persona, and we'll be able to communicate with, and the plants and so forth. There's a whole new expansion that's coming. And it's not just a limited 3D world of looking outside oneself anymore. So that really had to be said, because I have seen a lot of Facebook people are like, we're leaving 3D completely and we're going into this 5D world of just the energy world. If we did that, then all would be lost that we learnt. And we learnt a lot about our physical world, and we don't want to lose this. We want to use it as an expansion, a playground, so to speak, of a more separated world from source energy, God itself, but more love infused into it, taking our feelings into account. So when we start taking our feelings into account, everything's going to change, because we're going to use our imagination as well, which is going to come back in. And then we're going to start to create this whole world that is based on how we are personally feeling, because we start to see ourselves as the temple of our movements through our reality, instead of somebody else saying that they are the be-all and they're telling us how to move ourselves through our reality, and they're coming from their own lack. And we've been following these people that are coming from their own lack, because they are we have been sitting ourselves in a victimized situation because we're not been taking our feelings into account. So we sit in this victim, which by the way turns into perpetrator as well. But with that victim state of mind, we end up bringing in or looking for somebody outside of ourselves to guide us, to lead us, to tell us what to do. When we take our feelings back into account, we're the ones that start to take the reins to our reality. And we also realize that it expands our reality to a whole huge paradigm of when those feelings come into account of that our outside reality is a reflection of our inner reality. And we can shift things through this. It's like a feminine upload or energy alignment that understands when we go into self and from empowerment and the will of who we are, we can say no to a certain story and yes to another story, depending on where we're focusing on. And we start to look for those opportunities outside of us. And then those opportunities will show up as confirmation that we are in alignment in the same frequency of that story. And then we start to move ourselves towards that story as an opening of ourselves becoming the person that we always wanted to become. We command our story to be developed from the inside out. We're no longer just saying that we are victim to the outside world anymore. So 3D to 5D is an expansion of this consciousness and this awareness that we can now shift much more. We can literally ground our imagination if we decide to, and create really unusual, magical things. This is where telepathy comes in as well, because it's feeling based. Like when I get messages from my guides, I feel them first, and then with my logical brain, I turn it into a language. So my logic, my masculine is working with my feminine in a place that I can tell you the story through limited words, but I feel a lot more. I understand a lot more. And so even the words that I'm telling you at the moment, I have even more comprehension, but I can't relay that comprehension through the limitation of words that are held within my logical mind. And this is why we stutter a bit, because we're trying to give you, it's like my team and I are trying to give you a better understanding of what's to come. But there's only a limited amount of blocks. So to speak, you are going to build a castle with Lego, and you only had the very frame of the castle. So you could only build the castle to the frame, and then you hope that the other people have the imagination to be able to scope the rest of it. The English language does not, it's very, very limited. But when we are open to telepathy in this 5D world, when we start to communicate with each other, it's going to be an expansion of wisdom, of understanding, of so much more. And that's going to change you and your perception, because when you change your perception on things, you see a bigger picture, then you make different choices. You're not making a choice from a very limited reality anymore. You're making a choice from an awareness reality. And so you start to see the value of those that you've put your energy into and said that they can command you. You start to see their value as devalued, because you're no longer wanting to give your power away to something that knows less than you are, that you know. So the expansion of us into from the 3D, this physical plane, is not leaving us. It is expanding us into bringing in all that I'm trying to explain to you now. And we make better decisions, different decisions. We start to talk to the trees before we cut them down, because we are aligning ourselves with Mother Earth, and we will start to communicate with her on an equal base of understanding. She's always going to supply everything that we need, and she will certain trees will be growing for us to chop down to be able to create the buildings that we want, or we will be able to use the energy that's available. So we're still kind of working with that 3D sort of scenario that's not going to leave us, or we can use free energy. We'll start to align ourselves with understanding that we can emit light, and through our imagination, and I've done this in dreams before, where I was in a higher frequency, and to be able to create a building, I could put my hand out and a light would form out of my hand into a wall, and then it would, with my imagination, I'd create the doors and the windows, and then I would solidify it. And this is how they used to create buildings in the Atlantis Lemuria age, when we were more energetic based and more feeling based. And then the reason why we can't find them is because when the people, when the imagination died off, so too did all of those buildings. So there was a lot more going on in those worlds, other than just the physical. That we did have some physical buildings, but it wasn't as much. So you can see just through this channeling how much more expansion is going to happen. It's not going to just be us in this physical plane of existence working with the trees and the wood and the and the metals and so forth. It'll be also light frequency, and understanding that our imagination can be grounded, and free energy, which has always been available to us. Just like the oxygen, so too is energy. But it's coming from a value of ourselves, a will of knowing who we are, who thyself is, in the wholeness of oneself, where we're no longer playing the game of victim versus perpetrator. That was a huge channeling right there. Hey, everybody. I'm so pleased to be able to see everyone in the chat bar. So good to see you, Nicole, and Gail, and Celtic, and Annie, and Debbie. Yeah, a lot of them are from New York, and that I actually got to meet quite a few people, and it's just so good to be able to meet you all. So this huge shift is going to be very exciting for those that are understanding or were born into from a higher perspective, from a higher dimension, because they already hold that imagination or that wisdom of their past lives in their imagination, and they will start to see that they can ground it more into this reality. It's going to be a time, there's definitely going to be a time of this developing, because if anything's rushed too much, we miss the lesson, and nobody wants to miss the lessons. Because when we work through the lessons and we become a vibrational match to that lesson that was taught, it will never return again. And we don't want to keep going back and forth. But there is a transition of us moving back and forth just for a while until we really, truly get that lesson and we understand why that had happened to ourselves, just on a basis of this life that you're going through now. So you are the awakening of the whole of humanity into the wholeness of themselves, which was always collective with the 3D and the 5D together. It became as one. It will become as one. Where before in the Atlantis Lemuria age, it was more of a 5D experience and little was known about the physical world. And that's why we needed to shut down that higher self of ourselves to be able to play in the physical world. But with that came the perpetrator victim scenario, excuse me, that we all had to work through. And how does the 3D people that don't get it see us when we get it? Well, they won't. They won't be, if they're still stuck in that 3D, just looking outside themselves. They will literally see. You will either leave their reality and go form your own platform, or it's kind of like they're showing me when I was in the 5D. I literally stayed there for a while on Earth, holding these codes. Then I could teleport to a house that was built on a high mountain ridge where others didn't even know I existed. They're showing me that sort of thing. Telepathy and all of that, telekinesis, and others that were living in that 5D realm also knew about it as well. But excuse me, but nobody else did in the 3D world. It's like a separation from that, because they are not going to see what you see. It's kind of like if you see a UFO and you're like, look at that, and the person that's next to you turns away and is like looking at their phone or something, and they don't even believe you or see it or anything. Their reality takes them away from the reality of the 5D world or dimension coming into scope, because they just won't see it. And then those people will create maybe their own little hub, and then you become the ones that know that you can help them through their dreams. You become the almost like spirit guides or whatever. Say, for instance, if they were in a smart city that was completely closed off through fear and control and everything like that, if that does happen, I'm not sure if it's going to. I'm not saying an absolute, but I'm just giving you an example of what the 3D people could do if they stayed on this planet. Then they would be in their little controlled scenario and still victim versus perpetrator scenario. And then we on the outside that is creating a more energetic based reality with Mother Earth. And we will always slip through, if they tried to get to us, we could easily get around them because we're observing them. And then we can also help them and be a guide to them in their dreams. So then we can meditate and connect with one of them and awaken them, help them awaken out of their scenario where they want to escape that sort of smart city, and then take the risk like we do now of taking this story outside of the limitation of the 3D only. And that will, they'll have to go through their own process and lessons, just like we are now, where we're going through looking at our shadow selves and seeing a lot of things that aren't matching the vibration or energy of love of our own feelings. And then it comes to us as a shadow work where somebody literally tries to take us down, and we're either going to empower ourselves or we are not. And we fall further, or we end up creating, turning it around, shifting our own power from within us, and then saying no to that story, and then focusing on the story that we really want to develop. So it's a big process that's happening with humanity's consciousness at the moment. And it's exciting to see, because there are so many that are already, ready for this next step, which is acknowledging that their feelings and their empathy towards their outside world turns their outside world into a living conscious being, avatars, bugs, animals, trees, earth, everything, water. It becomes a living consciousness in itself, because we're now open to our own empathy and feelings to be able to connect with it as that. And you're aligning yourself with, say, the water or the river, and seeing the story that it carries. There's just so much more. So you do act different, and you will be maybe even seen as crazy to those that don't come. But those that don't come, that's what their fear of you will stop them. The fear stops them because they haven't dealt with the fear within themselves of acknowledging that they can expand themselves and feel more too. So fear is literally a program within humanity's consciousness that caps us as to our frequency, and it stops us going any further until we dealt with that fear. The fear is the code. Yeah. So there's quite a bit that's coming through there that can help, I'm sure, in the end. See what else happens. 3D to 5D. So the world that we're going to expand into, if you want to know a little bit more, they're telling me, I'm wondering what they're going to say, is a lot more. They're showing me in my mind's eye glowingness. Everything sparkles more. Sparkles are interesting, like is almost little portals into source energy. There's like these openings or portals through. They show me like sparks or sparkles, and they said even I've experienced it before into my own reality, going home to Pleiades, where I'd just be sitting there, and then there's this glimmer of a blue, very beautiful, vivid and beautiful glimmer of a spark that just sits there in my outside myself, like a few feet away, and it's just a glimmer of blue. And they're like, that is the glimmer of the portal that you are slowly starting to become a vibrational match to. And when you do, it becomes a bigger, and you can walk through into these other worlds and other dimensions. So that's really exciting. But it's a vibrational match because you're already in that arena, within your own consciousness, within your own feeling, within how you feel about yourself. Because I know now, when I first started my journey and I still had a lot to work through, there would be a wash of these beautiful feelings coming over me. And then now I can almost conjure them up. It used to be something that I wasn't in control of. Now I can sit and imagine and be in that feeling. But it only lasts, so long, 5 minutes or something now. But see, when that becomes more so of your reality, then and bigger and bigger and bigger of your reality, then it becomes something that is manifested outside of you as well. And then you can walk through these literal portals that you're creating within your own self of the frequency alignment to that planet, that dimension, that place that you remember within your imagination. You already held it within the codes of your imagination, but you're allowing that to be accepted by your logical mind frame as well. And so it becomes something in your actual existence, in your reality. So that could open up with the 5D as well. Just feeling into if there's any more messages at the moment. Gail, are we all equal, the trees, the birds, and the 5D people in consciousness, that we can talk together on the same level? Yes, because the trees are also source energy going on its own journey. The bug is also source energy going on. Everything outside of you is source energy going on its own journey, but it all has different levels of awareness and consciousness. And when we are aware that we are the creators, then we're stepping out of just being in this avatar. We become the creator of many more realities and alignments with bugs and all sorts of things. We become the creator. We become mini godlike as we go along. So there is different levels of consciousness within the avatars that are outside of us, the bugs, the trees, the animals, and so forth. And they all have specific lessons that they have learned, and you can learn from them when you open up to them. But through the eyes of source energy, we are absolutely all equal. It's just in this practical playing field, because there's a separation and an acknowledgement of the journey of the soul. How long has the soul broken free from source energy and gone on its journey, and what does it know in this practical playing field, how to work in the practical world, in the separated world? There's a naivety there that still has to be learned. And so there's a conscious value to the separated world as well. There's a conscious value to it. And so we are all different in different levels of that consciousness. But because humanity has, we have risen to the point where we knew quite a lot. And then it became that we wanted to carve more of a physical separated world on Earth. And to do that, because of the activation of our logical mind, being that we were our DNA was bred by or manipulated by different species, and the different species, some of them were really understanding the practical playing field, and some of them were really understanding the etherical playing field. So very feminine and masculine within us. We wanted to learn both sides of ourselves to become whole. So to learn one side, we literally had to shift all of our attention onto the other side. And to do that, now we've come to the point where we've learned all we can in this physical practical world. At the moment, we've decided it's enough. We could have gone deeper, they said, but to even carve more of a path, but it was enough for us. And we carved a path very deep into the separated world, into the physical world. So it was enough. And humanity started to cry out for help. This is in the early 1900s, around the times of the wars and all that. It was enough. We got to the point where we just didn't want to go any further in that lesson. And so now our attention has now been shifted back to our right hemisphere, our imagination, bringing it back on board to come into alignment with the masculine. So then all of our relationships will change as well. There will be no codependency relationships, which is literally the whole of humanity went through codependency relationships because of the imbalance. Now that will break apart, and we become whole within ourselves, and then we come together as two whole people. And we can choose whether we want to be with that person for the rest of our lifespan, or whether we want to move in and out. It's a choice then, and it's no codependency around it. It is just an acknowledgement of loving oneself and knowing whether you're alone or with somebody, you're still whole. So in the fifth dimension, you are you're a walking whole person. Yeah. Is there anything else that wants to come through? That was a good question, Gail. Yeah. There's going to be different things that will be created and what we want to actually bring into our reality, but it's going to be your choice. And when you decide to choose what makes you happy and on Earth is the alignment that you will have with either soul tribes and other people that are in the same frequency to create a bigger paradigm or your own village or whatever it is in this world. That's why when soul tribes do tend to come together, though, because, and that's meant soul tribes is like when before you were born, you knew people in your soul tribe. Many humans that have done life after life after life have stayed with their soul tribes through this, and they've interacted with different like grandfathers being the grandparent of the child, and then the next life they will be the uncle and that sort of thing. And if they had a fight in that life, then they'd have to come back and be the perpetrator instead of the victim, and they just kept switching around because there was a lot of perpetrator victim in that scenario of the last lesson that humanity learned. But then there are soul tribes of those that have come from higher dimensions. We've got literal groups or pods of souls that have decided to work together and help other planets and stuff like that. And then they're like, well, we will help Earth. And so we will split ourselves into some staying in the etheric worlds, and they become the guides, and then some living in the actually been born like I was in this world. And when we decide or choose what we want to create on this world, the natural magnetism of the soul tribe comes together because we all are in alignment with that mission. And so the mission becomes the created physical world. We create things in the physical world in alignment with the mission of the understanding of our soul tribe's awareness before we were born. So there's more that will be expanded into humanity's consciousness and can be grounded through them watching these soul tribes coming together and creating communities that are absolutely beautiful. And then they're like, well, we want a piece of that. And so we teach them, we bring them in and we teach them, and we don't judge them, and we bring them in and we ask them to be of value to the whole. And we can, it's only because they've done the shadow work themselves to be in alignment with that soul tribe. So it's literal coming together of massive. It's not just soul tribes, it's massive. It becomes a massive thing in the end. And the collective all just works well together in that 5D scenario. I know it sounds to the logical mind, it can sound a little bit fairy tale like, but it is fairy tale like. That's literally where a lot of the messages were held in the fairy tales of that was repressed in the feminine side of oneself, and that wishes can come true because you decide within yourself that you are which way you want to go and what choices you want and how you want to live in this world. It's very, very cool. Sky, can 5D start in local areas first and then it expands out to the world, or everything changes at the same time? They always show me like groups of awareness people coming together, and they're showing me a pulse of them coming together, and then recognize, but once they come together, they will never leave that scenario because they know that feels like home. That person feels like home. So that, but anything, so then that group will come together, create something, and then they invite, or their energy automatically invites others in. It's not something that you send an invitation out to someone. It's just that the alignment of your energy, and those that have done the work, that have been human after human after human and gone through the mill and back, they are literally invited by their alignment of the shadow work that they did themselves, because source energy and its infinite wisdom has actually been pouring love onto humanity's consciousness to be able to awaken us. And and that means that if more light is shone around somebody, if they have some darkness within them that's feeling crap, it will illuminate, and then in their reality that illumination becomes a formidable person outside of themselves that's attacking or something, and then they have to say, well, I'm just as powerful as you, so I have to take my power back because we're all source energy. And so they go through their own transitions, but there's the pods that will be developed, or the groups of people developed on planet Earth, will just end up expanding bigger and bigger until we all merge into one big beautiful light, I suppose. But it can be all different scenarios or different. It's not all the same. Like some people might go more to do with grounding into Earth and acknowledging Earth as being there. So not collaboration. God, I was going to say savior. One of that's, yeah, interesting. And then others will be more in line with what we've learnt, as in the electricity, building beautiful homes, spaceships. Some will be aligned with benevolent beings from other realities. And it's all going to be a little bit different everywhere, so that we still have journeys and adventures to go on to meet these other groups that are, but they're all in alignment with the choice and the value of feeling great within themselves. So yeah, it changes everything. Do the babies come down already knowing, or do they have to learn it and get it later in life? There are some babies that are born knowing now because of the crack that, there's been indigo children, crystal children, that sort of thing. They have certain frequencies of knowing, and they will always know the value that they are seeking in this world, or the happiness that they are seeking in this world, literally carves their journey or their story into reality. And especially now, a lot of the babies born can come in from higher dimensions because they were already aligned to come in at this point to help awaken many. But there are also those that are still going to be born that had life after life after life as human, a lot of them, majority of them actually, and they are still going to have to go through their own clearing of all of the trauma that they have been through, and they will need to find their own safety net in this world from their own perspective, from their own self. So they'll go on their own journey as well. So there's going to be a lot of different levels of consciousness and awareness, but we're all going to be meeting at that point of feeling great about ourselves, or love, or whatever you want to call that, happiness. Yeah. Is there anything else that wants to come through? I do love the questions, actually. That actually helps sometimes. At the moment, nothing's coming through. So through this process, don't doubt yourself if you need to go into hermit stage, and don't doubt yourself if you need to step out and actually be seen. Those that have now recognized themselves as who they really are, as a soul coming into this world, and they have come from higher benevolence, they will start to manifest more abundance in the physical form on Earth, to be able to create what they need, because they realize that it was always within them to be able to match the vibration, and they will do that work. And then those that are being in power, that have been holding on to controlling everyone, they will just literally start to, because they won't be able to hold that vibration, become too traumatic for them to hold that vibration of lack, or perpetrator meets victim. That will be too hard for them to do that. And so they will start to see the failing no matter where they move. They are confronted and they are confronted and they are confronted. And so it will feel too awful unless they find their own little hub and create something that is like, they show me Smart City, but I don't even know if that's going to happen anymore. I get this feeling like it's funny, as you start to raise your level of consciousness, so too does the story outside of you, because it's all to do with you raising your consciousness. It's not that then you're matching a vibration that meets a different story. So the story keeps changing as you raise your awareness. It's really interesting. Sky. Can you tell us what will happen to religion? Religion is the logical mind trying to create spirituality through just the outside world. So it had to compartmentalize, write down rules, because that's what the logical mind does, and it was in charge. So when it starts to realize that it's not meant to be in control, it's meant to work with the feminine, imaginative, intuitive mind, then the awareness becomes, you become the spiritual nature of yourself, and you and your so-called rules are from within you, and you match other people with the same integrities. And so religion is dispersed because it's not something that needs to be written down. Nothing needs to be written down anymore when we go into those higher dimensions, because we connect through telepathy. The writings and all of that only came because of the disconnect to telepathy. And like we had to hold certain remembrance or the journey of our reality in a writing outside of ourselves, because it wasn't remembered from within us. So spirituality just becomes, you just are that. And so, yeah, religions will definitely fall, because there's no need for somebody outside of you to tell you how to be spiritual. You find that from within yourself. Let's see if there's anything else that's coming through at the moment. I don't think there's anything else that wants to be said at the moment. But yeah, I think I will leave it there, guys. I will do I will see if I can do a tarot reading for you. The problem is I have to, if I do it at this hour of the day, so I might do it a different hour of the day, because this hour of the day I can't go inside at the moment. I'll see how it all pans out, because of certain circumstances within the house and everyone's asleep and stuff like that. So we'll see if I can get in with the tarots and stuff and play around, because there's a lot of tarot decks here, as you know from the last time I was here with my beautiful friend Julie. She lets me play with her tarot and go live. So I'll see how that actually works out, but it might be a different time than this time. I'll do the best I can to stay with Thursday at 7 a.m. Australia time. But yeah, I might change. And if anyone doesn't know, I also have a school called Amical. It's developing. I have not forgotten about it. I just haven't done any work on it for the last couple of weeks because of me traveling and all of that. But I've just done another 3 games, and I want to pull out another lesson for that school soon. So if you do want to join me on the school Amical, I am never going to stop it. It's going to be there for the rest of my days, as far as I'm concerned now. Yeah. So love you guys. Yeah, no jet lag this time. I am a little bit out of sync with the timing. I'm waking up really early and going to bed early. But other than that, there's no jet lag. I think because coming home is a bit easier, that's all. Yeah, and I had a lot of help on my flight because I couldn't sleep. And this absolutely beautiful soul gave me her chair that had a spare seat next to it and a lot of room in the front so I could sleep. How amazing is that? She literally shifted her chair with my chair. Everyone wanted to help, so that was just beautiful. That's Fiji flights, by the way. Fijians are so gorgeous. Their energy is so happy. Anyways, I will leave it there, guys. Until next time, thank you so much for being part of this channeling, and I will speak to you later. Bye.